Hello everyone, I'm Silverraptor and welcome to another Wargame Red Dragon deck creation video. It's been a little while since I did this, of course, Dawn of War 3 is just around the corner. I'm going to be providing some good content with that, but in the meantime, let's go and get at least one Wargame Red Dragon deck created from the comments, and the next one is someone who wants to unleash freedom. It's to create a U.S. armor deck. So this should be fun. I definitely want to recreate my U.S. armor deck. You do start off technically with a U.S. armor deck, but it's from the 1980 era, so a lot of limitation in tanks and such. So let's go and bring that up to the modern, or at least whatever counts for modern in this game era, and create a U.S. armored deck. Hang on, let me just check. We've got our U.S. First Army. Okay, so for the deck name, it's going to be the U.S. Second Armored Division. Is how I organize things. It just means it's the second deck I created. So USA and Armored. Alright, so that will give us +2 experience for units of type tank. All units of type tank cost -1 activation point and +4 slots available for tanks, as well as the availability for all units and activation points. So we'll have plenty of points for the tanks to do without. First off, logistics. We want to have a fob. And we could get Super Chinooks. This is actually fairly interesting. Well, first off, we're going to get the Abrams. I think it's kind of mandatory almost that you get a tank CV and an armored division. And then, since we only have 3 CV, we do need to have more. I don't really like this. I would prefer to get one of these, but yeah, we're going to actually get the cheap 100-point truck. I'm not a big fan of that, but we are going to take care of that. But now, getting to the supply, a Hempt and a Super Chinook have roughly the same supply. The Super Chinook has 100 liters more than a Hempt. However, it is slightly more risky to bring the supply helicopters up to the front line, as enemies will oftentimes mortar or what have you and take out these helicopters. But these helicopters are fast and able to move back and forth relatively quickly, and the Hemps are armored. So I'm actually considering getting a card of both of these. Now the thought is that the Hemp does the actual refueling and rearming and such, and then the Super Chinooks you put a little far back from the front lines, and these Hemps with their 100-kilometer speed can run back and forth and resupply, draining the Chinook completely. Then they go back to the front line, and the Chinook will fly back to the fob and basically refuel itself. So basically the Chinook will take the role of the Hempt. So it takes a lot more micro-intensive this way, but I'm going to try this out. I haven't actually done this. I think in my last armor deck I just had 2 cards of Hemps, but I'm all for experimentation if you guys are. So let's go to the Infantry tab. Now, we'll get back to the Infantry tab. Let's see. We're going to need some chaparrals. Both chaparrals, because the biggest weakness when it comes to an armor deck is the anti-air availability. So I think, do we want IHawk or IHawk pips? I think we definitely want IHawk pips because there's just increase of everything for 20 points. So we're going to get some IHawk pips, and for more anti-air, I'll take some PVADs. Yep, I'll take some PVADs. The PVADs could definitely intercept a seed missile in case I am bad at turning off my radar, which I sometimes am. The Vulcan can be good, but we already have our good AA. We want to have our range to go on, as well as accuracy to just shoot down as many helicopters and enemy planes that might be coming for our tanks. And then we definitely which one do we want? We don't need. Okay, yeah, we're going to get some mortars. These are for our smoke. Smoke is very important, as I proved in that Israeli armored push. Smoke is the end-all be-all of making sure ATGMs don't take out your tanks. Now we'll get to the tanks to start figuring out what we want to do. So first we want the M1A2. And then we have a choice between the M1, well, basically the HA and the HC. Now, both have the same armor. The biggest difference comes from a gun. And the the HA has a 20 AP power, and the HC has a 22 AP power. But the HA, you can get 4 veteran, whereas the HC has 3 veteran. I think we are going to go with the HC for the higher armor penetration power, and then our main Abrams is going to be just the regular M1A1 Abrams, because if you compare that to the HA, it only has 1 less AP power. And yes, it has less armor all around, but it's still got pretty damn good armor, and 115 points is, I think, very worth it for a tank. So I think we're going to get these, and I think I'm going to get these Elite. 2 cards of Elite Trained, so 8 M1A1s. Elite Trained from 65% accuracy with high armor is definitely basically going to say, get out of my way, I'm going to kill you. We definitely want to get some MBT 70s. These guys have 5 HE power, so that is definitely a mandatory thing. They also have some ATGMs and autocannons as a side note. Very good unit, I do believe and feel so. Now, for our other cheaper tanks, we can choose between the M1 IP Abrams or just a plain old M1 Abrams. And the M1 IP has a slightly better gun with 15 AP power and better armor for 15 points. I am tempted to take that with 7 side armor. I mean, the M1A1 is pretty good for 65 point tank. It just depends, how much do we need to spam these out? I can get 9 or 8 veteran. You know what? Let's get the IPs. Yeah, I know what to do. We'll get the 16 IPs, and we'll get 13 regular M1 Abrams. These will just be our cheaper support tanks, I believe. And we could get the M8 AGS for a sniper tank. Put these behind the regular M1 Abrams, but we'll need to get those at Elite because these things will die if you look at them. Alright, now that we have all of our tanks done, let's go and start doing our infantry. Now, we have access to the Bradleys, and I think we want to have lots of Bradleys into this mix. We can have the choice between the Rifleman and the Rifleman 90s, and the difference is that AT4 weapon. So, how do we want to do this? Okay, so these guys are all about the same kind of trained. So, an ideal situation. These are 50 points. We're already spending a lot on our tanks, so I feel that instead we are going to get... Oh, this is 55 points. But we get fewer of these Bradleys. If we get 2 cards, so basically make the Stingers the end-all be-all, because we're definitely going to be bringing lots of Stingers with our tanks to shoot down any helicopters that get close, and these Bradleys will be able to help engage with their long-range TOW-2 missiles. Then for the regular Rifleman 90s, we could bring in regular or a downgraded version of the Bradleys, or just bring them in 5-point trucks of death. That would give us 20 points. We could spam. I think we need 1 card of Rifleman spam, and then for the break, I think we'll get some. There's quite a bit of difference here. The difference in points is 10 more. Because these could really back up our stuff. Here, I know. I'll compromise. We will put one card in the 5-point trucks. Yes. We'll put these guys in here. And then we could get assault engineers. Or we can get more riflemen. Yeah. We'll get hardened riflemen. So how do I want to organize this? Here we go. Yes, that will do. All right. So we've got 20 M1A2 Bradleys. That is going to back up with our how many tanks? 66 tanks in total, including the cheaper ones. And then we've got 5 points trucks of death. I'm not decided yet. I don't feel we'll go through 36 riflemen unless we're on a really big map. But which one of these Bradleys would I want? More Bradleys equals more killing power. This is just basically an anti-APC Bradley, but it's cheaper. You know what? It's 5 points more. We've got better AP power on the gun, better AP power and accuracy even. Let's get a card of trained and put the card of hardened here and then put the stingers here. All right, so we've got quite a few Bradleys. We've got 20 M1A2, 18 M2A1s, and then we've got 18 5-point trucks of death variant backed up by some Stinger Cs for cheaper stingers. All right, so this is a pretty diverse infantry tab, probably the most diverse I've done so far. Recon. We're definitely going to need to get the M3A2 Bradley for extra recon firepower. And we can get the cavalry scouts with this for more recon, or the super dragon for more missiles. So this is an interesting game because this build that we're doing so far, because we've got a lot of ATGMs, and I'm tempted to do this. You know what? We are going to do it. I'm going to put a card here. We're going to probably need a lot of. There we go. So we'll put 2 cards of M1A2 so that they can just kill everything. We have a card of this. And then for another cheaper tank infantry, we'll get this. This is amphibious. It's got 5 HE power. It's got the anti-tank missile. Very good optics. It's generally a really good recon unit. Not a lot of people get it. And it makes me sad. We wanted those hardened, so their missiles actually hit. Yes. Yes. Good. Okay, that's hilarious. And vehicle tab. The only thing I would think of is the CEV, but we already have. Let's count. We already have 5 HE power from this, 13 of these guys. We've got plenty of rounds. And we've got 5 HE power from this. We've got 7 of them. And these need to get really damn close. I'm tempted to skip vehicles entirely. The only thing I would consider is combat. This is 5 AP power kinetic autocannon. But wait, that's kind of the job of the M1A1 basically, is to get that close. So yeah, let's skip the vehicles entirely. First thing we're going to get is the M1 or the AH-1S Cobra. And the reason why we're going to get that, and we are going to get the AH-1F Cobra. And the difference between these two is that the HA-1S does have extra rocket pods to kill infantry, and the 1F has ITO, so we have a lot of missiles. Basically, we're expected to encounter another armored deck with this deck, basically is how far we've been going. But the HA-1S Cobra, another weakness of armored decks, is infantry. Infantry in towns and infantry in forests in particular, and you need to clear those out quickly. Now, I want you guys to look. I would move here. I'll do it. I want you guys to look at the Vulcan Cannon on the 1F Cobra and the Vulcan Cannon when I mouse over the 1S Cobra. Can I do it like that? Oh yeah, that'll work. Okay. Okay. So, yes, the Vulcan Cannon is further range, and it's got AP power. But it only has 1,053 rounds per minute. It has the same HE power as the twin minigun of the 1S Cobra. Yes, it needs to get closer, but it has 2,758 rounds per minute. This Cobra just kills infantry. This is for, oh, there's a lot of infantry, I need to kill them all. This is, oh, I need to back up my tank with some ATGM power, or some anti-vehicle air power. So that's what this Cobra is going to do. And that's going to be our two different helicopters. I'll put the 1S over here. So that'll do it for our helicopters. Aircraft. Now I would like to have the Thunderbolt, but the problem with the Thunderbolt is that it's too expensive for how fast it moves. And I don't like how it now evacs after it fires all 6 missiles. Because the main gun is the Gatling gun here. So we need to move on. We are not getting any seed because we don't have too many aircraft. And if we're putting seed in an armored deck, I think you have too many aircraft in that armored deck. At least that's how I view it. A Nighthawk would be nice. We only can get one of them, which is unfortunate. One thing we'll need is some good... Ooh. Oh, no, that's... The F-15... Where is it? Oh, there it is. The block... We can get Block 16s. I think we want to get the F-15D Eagle for some HE power to take out that infantry. And then we can follow up... we can get F-15s. I need to do this again. F-15s or F-16s? Which do I feel would benefit me more? So the activation points are 51. It would be 53, then 56. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We can get... Oh, yeah. That's perfect for what I'm thinking of. Okay. Okay, so here's the choice. We definitely want the F-18C Hornet for just more ATGM missiles. So this is an enemy armored deck's worst nightmare with the amount of ATGM missiles we have. Now, we could get the Phantom II for the huge amount of napalm. Basically, choke off infantry section, which I'm now starting to lean to. Or we can get 4 F-15s all rookie and just provide massive air superiority. Or we can get rid of the Hornet and take heart in the fact that we basically have so much ATGMs with the Bradleys and just the sheer amount of tank power, extra Bradley recon, and even 1F Cobras, and that we don't need Super Cobras, and instead just take the 2 F-15s and then throw in the Phantom II. I think the Phantom II is definitely going to be a must. Yeah, I want the Phantom II. Otherwise, we would have to split F-16, Phantom II, and Hornet and just be slightly light on the anti-aircraft, which we only have for aircraft are these Hawk Pips. These are the best we have for taking out really aircraft. Yeah. You know what? We are going to skip the Hornet. This is going to be weird not having a emergency anti-tank plane, but we are going to get 2 cards of F-15s, so we basically could rule the skies by shooting down anything that could possibly threaten our tanks, and maybe even shoot down any seed planes that they have, so that we could use our pips and our PVADs even more. Yeah, okay. I like this plan. We are going to reorganize, like we always do. Okay, and for the C, we want to just get our standard tram intruders, Tomcats, Super Hornets from there. F111Gs. And Super Etendards. And we will organize them as such. Perfect. So, put that as a backdrop. This will be our US armored deck. So, this is actually quite interesting. We've got, of course, lots of Abrams, a few supporting tanks here and there. Here. This is bugging me. Wait, that was a hard delete. There we go. Okay, so we have all of our Abrams from left to right in terms of power and survivability. And then we've got our utility tanks here for basically sniper tank and then HE power tank. We've got all of our AA plus the mortars for smoke. We've got all of our Bradleys plus emergency infantry if we so need it. We have a micro extensive supply line here and our Cobras to back us up, as well as rule the skies, bomb the crap out of anything really hard, infantry really dug in, basically towns and such, and then napalm out any infantry, or even drop this down to cut off ATGMs, because the smoke from the napalm obscures sightlines. So this actually looks like a pretty good deck. I definitely want to try this out. So if you enjoyed this, please do like, comment, and subscribe down below. And the next video, it will be me playing this deck. And I will see you all in the next video. I'll catch you all later.